All right, let's talk about a huge change that's happening in Malaysian construction. Seriously, if you're a client, if you're a developer, you need to know this. We're talking about the new Construction Design and Management Regulations for 2024, CDM 2024. And look, this isn't just some minor update to the rulebook. This is a total reset on accountability. We are shifting from that old reactive model where you just left it to the contractor to a brand new proactive approach where you, the client, are now responsible for the entire project lifecycle.
To really get what this change means, let's use a simple analogy. Think of the old way as being a taxi passenger, right? You hopped in, told the driver, the contractor, your destination, and pretty much just trusted them to get you there safely. But under CDM 2024, you're not the passenger anymore. Nope, you are now the airline owner. You're the one in the control tower, and you're accountable for the entire system, from the pilot's training all the way to the plane's maintenance schedule. It's a whole different game.
So, what's the fundamental shift here? Well, the days of just outsourcing risk to your contractor, they're over, gone. In the old model, you were pretty much insulated from liability if something went wrong. But this new model, it makes you legally accountable for the whole shebang. The risk isn't just passed along anymore, it is now fundamentally owned by you, the client. Now, to really understand why this change was so necessary, we've got to look at the problems with that old taxi passenger model. Let's peel back the layers and see the hidden dangers it was creating. You see, with the old system, safety was often just an on-site issue, something you reacted to. That meant that huge safety decisions made way back in the design phase were often informal. And, this is the key, they were undocumented. There was no paper trail. You just relied on the contractor to handle it, which created this dangerous illusion of compliance, when in reality, massive risks were being baked right into the building's DNA. Okay, so that was the problem. Now, let's pivot to the solution and what your new role looks like. It's time to step up into that control tower and really embrace what it means to be the airline owner. As the airline owner, you're not the one flying the plane, of course, but you are absolutely on the hook for its airworthiness. That means you're responsible for making sure your pilot, your designer, is competent. You're responsible for the maintenance schedule and for making sure all the operational protocols are safe. That's the kind of top-down systemic oversight that's now expected of you. And here it is. This might be the single most critical legal change to wrap your head around. The burden of proof has flipped. It's now on you. Before, if something went wrong, prosecutors had to find evidence that you were negligent. Now, an absence of evidence, no risk assessments, no meeting minutes, no proof of your decisions is treated as evidence of failure. I didn't know is no longer defense. Period. This new accountability, it's not just for when the construction is happening. Safety has now become what we call a life cycle decision. That means risk has to be managed from the absolute beginning, from the first concept sketch all the way through the build, and then for decades of operation and maintenance. You're not just planning for the building's construction, you're planning for its entire life. So with this massive new responsibility, you're probably wondering, what's my main tool here? Well, it's a strategic document called the Concept Design Risk Assessment, or CDRA. The best way to think about it is that your old master plan has just evolved into a master governance tool. Let's compare. Your traditional master plan was all about the what. Aesthetics, zoning, what's the yield going to be? It defined what to build. The master CDRA is all about the how. It's laser-focused on evidence, governance, and being able to defend your decisions. It defines how you're going to build and maintain something safely. And this master CRDRA really stands on three core pillars. First, buildability. Can this thing actually be built safely and efficiently in the real world? Second, maintainability. Can someone safely clean the windows or service the equipment 20 years from now? And finally, sustainability, which now has a deeper meaning. It's about ensuring long-term value and resilience, all rooted in safety. So how do you meet that burden of proof we talked about? You do it with something called the golden thread. This is your proof. It's the continuous, traceable trail of documents that shows exactly how risk was managed at every single stage of the project. It's your evidence locker. And this golden thread gets woven together in 4 mandatory stages. It starts with the pre-construction information, the PCI, which lays out all the project's risks right at the start. That feeds into the CDRA, which proves how you've designed out those risks. That then informs the construction phase plan, the CPP, detailing how you'll manage risks on site. And it all culminates in the Safety and Health File, or SHF, which is the living manual for operating the buildings safely for years to come.
Okay, so this all makes perfect sense from new projects starting today. But I bet a lot of you are thinking, what about all the buildings and townships we already have? That's a great question. So let's dig into what this means for protecting your existing legacy. Yeah, it's a really common misconception that these new rules are only for new builds. But what about all those assets that were built before June 2024? Do they get a pass? The short answer is no, not at all. The principles of accountability apply right across your entire portfolio. For all of your existing assets, your duty is clear. You are now required to perform what's called retrospective risk identification. Basically, you have to go back. You have to understand the risks that are inherent in your older buildings, and you have to document them, creating that safety file that probably never existed before. So what does that look like in practice? Well, you need to conduct structured reviews to identify those old legacy hazards. You have to document the building's risk history and the assumptions for how it can be used safely. Then you compile all of that into a safety and health file, and you make sure your maintenance teams have it. And this is critical. It has to be a living document. Every time you do a refurbishment or make a change, you update the file. Now, I know this might sound like a huge burden, but honestly, you should see it as a strategic advantage. When you embrace this airline owner mindset, you're not just getting compliance. You're getting reduced liability, you're getting way more control of your projects, a much stronger reputation, and at the end of the day, you're building safer communities. So let's end on this thought, because I think it captures everything perfectly. A sustainable township is no longer just about being green. A truly sustainable project is one that is buildable, it's maintainable, and in this new world of accountability, it is legally defensible. So the question to ask yourself is, are your projects defensible?